Hello everyone. I've just finished playing the Neptune, grinding up the experience required to open up the Tier 10 Minotaur, and wanted to share some moments that stood out for me in this ship. How often can one say they managed to citadel a Tier 10 German battleship, the Grosse Kurfürst, from 14 kilometers with the Tier 9 cruiser? Yes, it really happened. Here we have a close-up of the HMS Neptune with the Royal Navy camouflage installed in the very picturesque wartime port of Dunkirk. I must admit, of all the Tier 9 cruisers I've played so far, I enjoyed the Neptune the most. It always gave me the powerful feeling I could influence the result from my team. Let's take a quick look at the upgrades and the captain skills. Main armaments 1, damage control 1, aiming systems 1, steering gears 2, concealment system 1, and main battery mod 3. Onto the captain, Jack Dunkirk, priority target, jack of all trades, expert marksman, smokescreen expert, adrenaline rush, superintendent, vigilance, and finally concealment expert. I'm uploading World of Warships content regularly now to YouTube, so if you want to keep in touch, just follow the on-screen instructions. We all have our own way of playing each and every ship in World of Warships, but what we do have in common is we all strive to be better players. My preferred playstyle with the British cruisers has always been playing the role of the stealthy ambush predator. So for all intensive purposes in this video, I'm going to focus on the easier approach with the Neptune, in my opinion, using the smoke consumable. Your own playstyle may vary, of course. I'm not saying there is a right and a wrong way. My goal is to provide you with useful information using my own insight into the Neptune's strengths and weaknesses, and also to highlight some of the mistakes I've made so you can hopefully avoid them and adapt your own playstyle accordingly to get the most out of this outstanding British cruiser. You should always attempt to strategically position your ship to maximize your impact on the battlefield. Give yourself every advantage when possible. In this instance, I'm using the gearing smokescreen for cover, but also using the island for increased protection from torpedoes and blind fire from advancing enemy ships. HMS Neptune's armor-piercing, potent angles of penetration, combined with stealthy torpedoes, allow you to inflict incredible amounts of burst damage on a complete range of targets. The HMS Neptune truly excels in the role of close support cruiser, which means getting in close to your destroyers. But how do you define this role? I would recommend remaining in stealth, operating in the area about 6 to 7 kilometers behind your lead destroyer, and initially avoiding those open water gunfights and long-range pot shots with low damage returns. Due to the slow shell velocity, your goal here is to maximize your effective AP from close range. This requires confidence in your ability to get into the heat of the action, to deliver that massive damage potential quickly on target, but most importantly, to get out intact. It doesn't help your team by trading off kills to take out one of the enemy, only to die quickly yourself. That confidence comes with game time and experience. Trading off for the quick gratification of getting a kill and a quick return to port accomplishes neither. It can be very difficult to maintain that discipline, especially if, like me, you have an itchy trigger finger. The urge to open fire can be almost irresistible at times. Check your worst impulses, as your patience can be hugely rewarded. Use this downtime in the action before and between engagements to plan your attacks using the information provided by your destroyers. Examine your enemy's movements. I like to compare this stage of a game to virtual chess. But before you go all rooks and kings on me and declaring you hate chess, don't worry, that's where the comparison ends. You are just planning several moves ahead while anticipating the enemy's potential movements also. It's said the best laid plans all get shot to hell on first contact with the enemy, but don't let that dissuade you from being the man with the plan, so to speak. A very good tip here is to make sure you have the enemy ship's previous known location box ticked on, as the minimap provides invaluable information allowing you to make informed decisions and avoid those nasty surprise attacks yourself. But be cautious. Experienced players can use this against you, with this circle reticle on the minimap showing you where your guns are currently aimed. Wargaming says that this does not assist aiming, but this is definitely not the case. Keep moving in your smoke screens at all times to reduce the risk of being hit, and ensure you're the hunter and not the hunted. Being aware of the Neptune's weaknesses is equally important as being able to take advantage of its strengths. It's vitally important to remember your very large bloom radius of 6.6 kilometers when shooting your guns when sitting in a smokescreen, so be very aware of ships close that can detect you, as being caught sitting still in a smokescreen can be and usually is fatal. Make use of your torpedo launchers to ascertain the direction of enemy targets, and always attempt to take advantage of terrain and friendly smoke screens when possible for strikes of opportunity. Just don't impede the current occupants by restricting their movements or fields of fire. But never forget that these smoke screens are torpedo magnets, so make strategic use of the great hydroacoustic search the Neptune possesses to avoid any nasty encounters with those nasty metal fishes. A low health enemy Jervis detects me and attempts to flee, but quickly gets deleted by my friendly St. Louis. If you didn't notice there, I managed to do over 6,000 damage to a perfectly angled Alsace in 2 quick salvos, just by targeting its superstructure. This will be the focus of attack for all angled targets. Using the increased penetration power of the Neptune's shells, focus your aim on the superstructure and avoid hitting guns and belt armour, if at all possible, to be able to land salvos with consistent damage. Here I'm faced with 2 enemy cruisers attempting to creep up on our right flank. The Neptune's torpedoes are amazing. You get 2 quad launchers on both port and starboard sides, giving you 16 torpedoes in total, which can also be single fired, so don't be afraid to put them out there, not only in a direct offensive manner, but also as an area of denial deterrent weapon. I can't resist the temptation to shoot the broadside hipper, thinking I can shoot from stealth, but the Alsace is still in spotting range, and I reveal my location prematurely, which allows the enemy Seattle to land a 9k volley on my broadside. I compound this mistake by activating my heal way too early, which is effectively a waste as it only heals a small amount of hit points compared to what it can potentially heal. An added downside is that now it's on cooldown, just as I'm about to engage these 2 enemy cruisers. My friendly Iowa now has their full attention, and I can move into position to engage. In my eagerness to delete the immediate radar threat of the Seattle, I rush my first salvo, as my smokescreen is still blooming and my back turrets have not yet cleared the island for a clear line of sight on target. Not only do I lose 50% of my potential damage, but I'm detected moving very slowly and a sitting duck if they react quickly. I take an almost 30k volley from the enemy hipper as the Seattle goes down, but I'm now in dire straits. The hipper is angling in and now proceeding to charge my smokescreen. I'm now reduced to focusing his superstructure to attempt to kill him before he reaches that 6.6 kilometer bloom range before he can land one accurate volley on me. And just in the nick of time, I get the kill. It can be a fine line between success and failure in the Neptune, and reducing the amount of errors in judgment, including positioning, target selection, and timing of attacks, will be key to you becoming a better player and having a positive impact on the outcome of your battles. I feel it's very important to highlight my mistakes and how quickly one misplay can quickly cascade into a whole succession of mistakes. Neptune's biggest weakness is that these errors can be severely punished due to the very thin armour and huge citadel of the Neptune. Due to the slow travel speed of the Neptune's shells, it's best to avoid these long-range potshots, as it's quite difficult to reliably land hits on target, especially on fast-moving destroyers. It only serves to reveal your location and eliminate any element of surprise you might have in your favour. Instead, use these moments to examine the enemy composition, the threats involved, and plan accordingly. In this case, it's the US cruiser Seattle with radar and the German battlecruiser Scharnhorst. I can't stress enough how advantageous it can be to use terrain and island cover when possible. Never rush your smokes, but try and plan ahead. Slow your speeds and be ready to instantly smoke, but take advantage of these moments. You can fire in the open with minimal risk. I'm just going to reverse slowly away to be on the edge of the Seattle's radar range. It's important to remember you can't just randomly smoke up and open fire on the enemy hoping for the best. Look at the lines of sight your friendly ships have on your targets. Will they provide hard spotting on the enemy so that you can maximize your damage potential from your smoke screens? It's not possible to predict everything, of course, especially from your own teammates. My friendly destroyer in this instance, who is providing spotting, chooses this exact moment to smoke himself and start firing on the enemy, leaving the whole team blind. We reacquire spotting and are able to lay down devastating fire on the Scharnhorst. Note where I'm aiming for that central point where the deck meets the superstructure. Our cruisers are really playing well here, carrying the fight consistently to the enemy, while our battleships have effectively removed themselves from the battle on the A line. The enemy Scharnhorst blind fires me in a last desperate attempt, but I'm constantly moving in my smoke screen, and he dies quickly in our crossfire. Next on our hit list is the enemy Seattle, who appears to be slowly reversing out from behind that island. These are the juicy moments where we can aim for that waterline and punch through his citadel for maximum damage. I'm expecting the Seattle to activate his radar at any moment, and I'm quite sure the other enemy battleships have now moved in to support him. I really don't want to be caught exposed in the open, so if they radar and start pushing, the island on my left will provide cover and an escape route. Sure enough, the enemy Friedrich der Große has appeared, moving in quickly behind the Seattle. Considering where our battleships are located, I'm pinging them on the minimap, imploring them to make some kind of contribution, as we are currently at a serious disadvantage, behind both on points and capture points. Our friendly Iowa manages to finish off the enemy Seattle, so we have finally managed to remove the radar threat on the B capture point. Despite still being behind, we are slowly encircling B, which could prove decisive. This Friedrich now presents a serious threat. I activated defensive smoke and launched a concentrated spread of torpedoes, using the single fire mode to try and prevent him charging in on me. I assume he has his hydroacoustic search activated, which will detect him and force him to turn away and show more broadside to my friendly battleship, but more importantly outside of the 6.6 kilometer bloom range required for me to shoot my guns undetected from smoke. Despite being known for its notoriously inaccurate guns, the Friedrich is more than capable of one-shotting me from this point-blank range. I'm forced to wait till that range meter hits 6.7 kilometers before I can start punishing him. Due to the reload module and adrenaline rush, I've gotten my reload down to 3.6 seconds now on my main guns, which means I can pump out some serious firepower. Once again I'm aiming for the superstructure on a heavily armoured angled target. That Gneisenau that has been virtually hugging the map edge the whole game manages to secure the kill. The reason I use this replay to talk about the Neptune is not because it has a load of kills and a massive amount of damage, but because in fact it's a game littered with personal mistakes. I feel it's important to highlight them in a way that explains why some, but not all, face certain issues with playing the British cruiser line. The Neptune has a reputation of being especially unforgiving and prone to instant deletion, but the fact remains, if your tactics and positioning are solid, you can become a real thorn in the side of the enemy team. Once again I've succumbed to temptation here by taking a potshot at the retreating Fiji. Sure, I land a 6k volley on him, but it's a low reward, high risk situation, as I'm now exposed in the open, having to make a turn exposing my broadside to where the enemy battleships are located, as I need to push in and secure the B capture point. The result here is still far from secure, as two battleships are still being incredibly passive, and it's totally down to our cruisers to win this match for our team. The enemy Fiji and Donskoy are pushing out away from the cap, while the enemy Nagato is my next target, as he will be blocking my attempts to capture B. My plan here is to smoke up and drift around the corner to have firing angles from a concealed position. While one of the strengths of the Neptune is its acceleration, it does not slow down well at all. This is a mistake made all too often by Neptune captains, of drifting too far forward or just enough to be briefly visible ahead of the smoke puffs. Lady Luck is on my side here, as the enemy Nagato is in the process of reloading his guns. I target the enemy superstructure once again, and manage to land a couple of high damage salvos on him to quickly take him down before he can unleash his full broadside on me. The enemy Iowa that has been undetected also appears behind the island, already on fire, catching me a little off guard and needing to reverse quickly to allow my rear guns to also fire. The enemy Iowa goes down very quickly under our cruiser's combined and sustained fire, and I'm lucky enough to secure the kill with a cracking achievement.
We've destroyed an enemy
Despite
battleship.
the many mistakes I've made in this game, I've been rewarded for consistently focusing on my positioning and attempting to engage the enemy on my terms. We have turned the tide, despite the handicap of having battleships spending the whole match hiding at the back of the map. This unfortunately is something you will have to deal with consistently in random battles. The Neptune is a ship that puts the power in your hands to enable you to take the initiative and allow you to salvage situations like this, which can be immensely satisfying, pulling off these comebacks. We spent virtually the entirety of this match playing catch up until we killed that enemy Iowa and finally managed to break the enemy's resistance. I get plane spotted here, and the enemy Fiji is able to lob some shells over that island, hitting my superstructure to delay the capture progress. But it's all in vain now. All that remains is to mop up the remaining survivors as we drive forward to capture the point. The enemy Fiji is going down fighting, and is able to land some more well-aimed shells on my superstructure, resetting the capture process once again. But despite his best attempts to defend, I'm now undetected and behind the island, so we can complete the capture process uninterrupted. I have my hydroacoustic search up and running, which allows us to safely push around the island, unafraid of any potential torpedoes from the Fiji, and chase him down. My friendly Seattle, who still has virtually his full health pool, takes point and leads the charge, and I quickly use my final heal just to add some extra HP just in case. The enemy Fiji makes a last desperate stand, and I managed to secure the 6th and final kill of the game, and a very satisfying victory.
Enemy cruiser foundered.
So, as we go to the results screen, I would just like to thank you all for watching and hope you found this video both entertaining and helpful. I've added some links at the end relating to the previous tiers in the British cruiser line. Feel free to check them out and let me know what you think in the comments. I'm adding new instructional videos all the time, so if you want to keep in touch with all the latest developments, just follow the on-screen instructions.